Hi, this is Russ Payton with Role Playing Public Radio, and I am here with Tomas from, introduce yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Tomas Härenstam, one of the co-founders and game designers with Free League Publishing.
And what do you do for Free League?
Well, a bunch of different things. I mean, we're a fairly small business, so that means we do kind of a little bit of everything every day. But what I like
to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, exactly, many hats. But yeah, I prefer mostly to do, game design, game writing. I'm the lead writer for Alien, Blade Runner, Dragonbane, Forbidden Lands, a few more. Of course, I'm not alone doing those games. We're a team, and we have great writers helping me out, but I'm kind of trying to keep it all together and create new stuff for those games, and that's what I like to do the most. Then there's a lot of different other stuff that comes along with running a business that I have to do as well, but
yeah,
game design's the fun stuff.
Yeah, what is the philosophy of Free League games?
I mean, I think if we have a main philosophy is that we have always created games that we want to play ourselves. I mean, it always starts from a place of passion that this is the game we'd like to see and have on the table, and then we'll go out and create it. And another thing that I feel has always been important is that we want to get everything has to work together, like the graphic design, the art, the game design, and the physical product. They all need to kind of draw in the same direction and create a whole that sort of gives you the experience of the RPG.
Yeah, because it's all important. Game design is a multidisciplinary field. There's been discourse lately about like, I hate having to have art for my RPG, but like the art is important. So,
yeah, I think so. I mean, of course, you can play a great RPG with no art at all, but I think the right art really helps, and a cohesive, kind of consistent art style for a game, at least that draws me in and immerses me in the game and makes me excited about it. And I think that excitement translates over to the table as well. So I think the art definitely matters.
I think that's an important distinction, the right art, because this style of a game like Merkborg doesn't necessarily, like, that style would not work for the One Ring or vice versa.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's and that goes along with the rules in game design as well, that a great rule or piece of mechanic can be great for one game but completely wrong for another. So even though we have like a house system, the user engine we call it, we tweak it heavily from game to game. And for some games we don't even use it at all because we feel another mechanic fits better for what we want to do with that particular title.
So when you're thinking about adding a new game or or a book for Free League, like what is the make or break for like, we should like buy this game, or we should develop this game or this book, or nah, we shouldn't. Like what's that for you?
I mean, it can be anything. It just starts with an idea, something that we really feel we want to do, and it can be, something like Alien and Blade Runner, that started actually with a conversation we had just for fun way back before we had done any large licensed games. We were just having a brainstorm, like if we were to do a large license, what would it be? What would be like the dream license? And we had a top 5 list, and Alien and Blade Runner were like number 1 and 2, or 2 and 1, I don't remember. But they were really, if we were going to do a license, those were like the perfect ones because we had the passion for them. They're like personal favorites of the team. So those started there, and I think most games start from a place of, where we get excited about something and then we just kind of roll with it and it becomes a game. I mean, for another one that I initiated a while back was a new edition of Twilight 2000, and that was like, because I had fond memories of playing that game, like the first edition in the 80s, and I just felt that'd be really cool. And I just started thinking about it, and we started a campaign to play first edition, and we had a lot of fun with it, but still felt this is a cool concept. It could do with a makeover, so we kind of just started tweaking it, and then we just reached a point where I felt like maybe we should just actually check with whoever owns this brand or whatever, whether we could do a new version, because by then we had so much fun with it, so why not make it into a game? And that's usually how things kind of start.
Yeah, and I saw it already has a couple of expansions out for it.
Yeah, it does.
And also, like so for those expansions, like how did you decide, like, because there's a lot of things you could do for the game, but what do you choose as the primary, like, we'll use Twilight 2000 as an example, like what's the is it like, oh yeah, that's the best idea for it, or is there something else?
It could go either way. I mean, some games really need expansions that kind of core to the experience. Others are more standalone. I think we create games that generally work fairly well standalone. Like we have sandboxy type games. Twilight 2000 works fine as a sandbox game that you can kind of play a whole campaign in without needing any expansions. But expansions can help you create, larger campaigns, deepen them. And for Twilight, it went back to the first edition. We kind of followed in the steps of those early modules that were done for that one, but we expanded the scope of it and make it a bit more general in style. So instead of having a module about one city, we made a module about cities. And instead of having a module about one river, we made it about waterways in general, like how to play on with boats, basically. So and that came back to the legacy of the early editions and what we thought would be a fun spin on that, basically. But yeah, I mean, expansions can start in lots of different ways. I mean, for Blade Runner that I write for, I really felt like a fun, very difficult but fun challenge to create new stories in the Blade Runner universe that really catch and capture the right theme and feel of a Blade Runner story, which is fairly complex because those are not simple stories. And there it's like, okay, so what would actually go into if I would dream up like my ideal Blade Runner film, what could that be like? And that's kind of what the starting point for the expansion. So it can start with pretty much anything, but just something that we feel would bring something new to the game.
Yeah, and you've like with Alien, you've had things that are more focused on the colonial marines, and you have more things more focused on the colonists, like the building better worlds. And that's focused very much on like the civilian side of it, right? Right. And that's up for an Innie this year, right? So
we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see
how it goes. Yeah.
I guess I was sort of the similar mindset of like we need to explore this setting from every perspective.
And Alien is fun in the sense that there is so much done over the years. There's like not only the films since '79, but also lots of novels, books, comics, video games. There's so much. And there, I've done some of the game design parts of the scenarios, but there we had Drew Gaska did a lot of the setting work, and he's dug really deep into the lore of Alien and made that and put that into the books. So that there it's also fills the function of being like a lore Bible for the Alien universe, which can be a lot of fun. Whether you're even not a role player, you can still enjoy those books just because you could kind of immerse yourself into that world.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's really done well. It's really resonated with gamers, I think. I played it myself and I had a blast. And that's probably one of the reasons why you're doing the second edition, right? It's just got such a good response.
It is, because we have had, it's been played so much. We have got lots of great feedback. We learned a few things in the 5 years since it was released, and we started working on the Alien RPGs like close to 7 years ago. So for us, it feels like, we have learned a lot. We have got great feedback. We want to do some new things with the game. We want to do some things a little bit differently. So that's where the idea of a second edition came from. But it won't change the game completely. It's still going to be compatible with first edition expansions, and we can even play the new expansions with the first edition rules if we want to, with minor tweaks. So we don't want to break anything, but just elevate it and to the next level.
Great. Do you have an exact date for the Kickstarter yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll announce that when we can, but it's looking like October, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And is it just going to be a core book for the Kickstarter, or do you have any stretch goals for additional books?
It's more what we're doing is it's a new it's core rules, but also the Rapture Protocol, we call it. It's a new cinematic box set. So it's a scenario with pre-gens and the 3-act structure. Similar to what we did with Chariot of the Gods and Destroyer of Worlds and Heart of Darkness. This is the 4th cinematic scenario that we're doing. And we're adding to that also a miniature set and maps that work with miniatures. So we're kind of also adding a layer of using minis for Alien if you want to. So that's also going to be part of the Kickstarter. So it's not just the new rule books, it's also the new adventure and the miniatures.
Cool.
Yeah.
There has been an explosion in sci-fi horror in the RPG in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
What do you see the state of the industry now? Like, are there any other trends that you're noticing that you find interesting?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, one thing that we've been seeing for, last couple of years, I guess, is solo play has really exploded. And I think that's a really cool way to interact with an RPG in a different way when you can't get a group together, or just because you prefer playing solo, which is a lot of fun. And that works differently in different titles. I'm now personally digging into how to do it in Blade Runner, which I think is a game that lends itself really well to solo play, considering it's like stories typically with a single protagonist. It kind of works. So that is something we're seeing, and we're trying to add to most of the titles, and we might hopefully add it to the new Alien edition as well. So.
Yeah, when you talked to Gareth, he talked about solo play for Mines of Moria.
Yeah, that's also in there, a solo mode for playing in Moria. So that's definitely something. And of course, VTTs is something. I mean, virtual tabletops. We're doing that on as many platforms as we can. So that's also something that's growing, although we don't feel we'll leave physical books anytime soon. I mean, that's still what we feel is a really big part of what we do, is to create beautiful physical products. So I don't think we'll ever want to stop doing that. But VTTs is a great alternative or complement to that.
Cool. The virtual tabletop thing has really exploded. Like, there's so many options now. Do you have a personal preference for? Do you play any times with virtual tabletops? Yeah.
A little bit. I'm kind of old school. I prefer playing physically, so I haven't played a ton, but I've done some. I played some Foundry. Actually, my first, very first attempt at playing using Foundry was showcasing or GMing Blade Runner for a group of kind of journalists. That was super. I was really nervous. I didn't really know my way around, but it worked really well. I think it's so when you play remotely, I mean, tools like that are super useful. So, and I think they have a bit of a different focus. Foundry is great for some things. Alchemy does some other things. So we like to and not settle for one, but really try to be present on as many of them as possible.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other things about Free League you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot of ground. I mean, of course, one thing that we're doing is a lot with this Dragonbane, the new fantasy title. We have a new campaign coming out for that pretty soon. That's on pre-order now. So that's one thing I'm also pretty heavily involved with at the moment. But other than that, I think I think we covered a lot.
Is there anything at this year's Gen Con that you've been looking forward to get or play or try out?
I mean, I wish I had more time to actually see what's out, because there's so much.
Yeah.
But me and my son are fans of the Lord of the Rings card game. We played that a ton.
Yeah.
And they just announced released a new expansion for that. So we grabbed that one yesterday. So yeah, we'll definitely play that once we get out of the madness here. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And we'll have links in the description with Free League's offerings. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.